Hello, and welcome to the first presentation in this Aerospace Medicine Seminar Series. My name is Natasha Cho, one of the core faculty members of the UTMB Aerospace Medicine Division. I am board certified in Aerospace Medicine and Emergency Medicine and a graduate of the UTMB Aerospace Medicine Residency, class of 2015. This presentation uses material from the original mini-series curriculum and expands upon it in the 2024 update. Our residency and associated projects are funded in part by NASA. As a disclaimer, the content in these presentations serves as a basic introduction to aerospace medicine concepts for students. It is not a substitute for formal ACGME-accredited aerospace medicine training or aerospace medicine work experience and shall not be used as such in medical practice or decision-making. This material, including text, images, and multimedia, is protected by copyright and other intellectual property laws. The content is provided for informational purposes only and may not be copied, reproduced, distributed, transmitted, displayed, modified, or otherwise used in whole or in part without the express prior written permission of the University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston. Today we will cover the what, why, how, where, and who of aerospace medicine through the following objectives listed here. But first, I have a question for you. What is aerospace medicine? What do you think? In its simplest terms, aerospace medicine is a highly specialized form of occupational medicine, where your patient population is individuals who fly for a living, namely pilots, astronauts, and other aircrew. What you learn in medical school is how to take care of unhealthy patients in a normal, stable, terrestrial environment. Aerospace medicine has traditionally dealt with the opposite, taking care of relatively healthy individuals, the fittest of the fit in terms of screening for the armed services and NASA, and putting those individuals in an abnormal environment. There are many physiologic changes when you purposely put humans in the extreme environment of aerospace. To do so safely, you need to understand these changes and how they affect the health of the human involved, and that is where the aerospace medicine physician fits in. There are different types of practitioners within aerospace medicine, to include aviation medical examiners, designees of the FAA who perform pilot physicals, and flight surgeons, physicians who apply aerospace medicine knowledge in an operational setting. When we say operational here, I don't mean performing surgery in the operating room. In this context, when we say operations, we mean working in support of active processes such as military deployments and spaceflight missions. This is in contrast to other areas such as aerospace medicine research, which may be performed by both physicians and non-physicians. Additionally, you may encounter aerospace medicine nurses, physiologists, and psychologists, just to name a few. Throughout this presentation, we have included some photos to familiarize you with the types of opportunities that we have in aerospace medicine. This photo is of a prior UTMB graduate practicing aerospace medicine as a flight surgeon at NASA Mission Control in Houston, Texas. It's also important to understand that aerospace medicine falls under the umbrella of the American Board of Preventive Medicine. This is very fitting because much of the field is concerned with prevention and keeping our patients fit to perform their duties given the hazards of their extreme occupational environments, such as space, undersea operations, high altitude operations, pulling Gs in aircraft, etc. You can see how the ABPM defines aerospace medicine here. When I read this, what I take away is that our patients do not have time to deal with in-flight medical emergencies, so it is our responsibility to ensure they are safe to perform their jobs, as well as for us to be prepared to provide acute care for medical conditions that we cannot fully prevent. There are three specialties under the umbrella of preventive medicine: general preventive medicine, occupational medicine, and aerospace medicine. You may be surprised to learn of some of the other subspecialties listed to the right that are also housed under the American Board of Preventive Medicine. Another question for you: when did aerospace medicine officially become a medical specialty? A. Trick question, it's not officially recognized by the American Board of Medical Specialties, or ABMS, as such. B, 1953, C, 2003 with the rise of commercial space, D, 1981 when the first space shuttle launched, or E, none of the above. The correct answer is B, 1953. To know where you are today, it's important to understand the past. So we'll begin learning more about what aerospace medicine is with a bit of history. The first powered flight was conducted by Orville and Wilbur Wright, the Wright brothers, in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina on December 17, 1903. So we know that flight and airplanes have been around since the beginning of the 1900s. But when was it decided that we needed a medical specialty that cares for the aviator? I would like to introduce you to two of the founding fathers of aerospace medicine. The first is Dr. Bauer. Dr. Bauer established the first school for aviation medicine in 1922 in the Army. 4 years later, he authored the first aviation medicine textbook and became the director of medical service in the aeronautics branch of the Department of Commerce, a precursor to the Federal Aviation Administration, also known as the FAA. He also developed the first set of medical standards for civilian pilots and was responsible for the concept of aviation medical examiners. We will cover aviation medical examiners in depth in a subsequent lecture, but in a nutshell, they are physicians who are delegated authority from the FAA to medically clear pilots to fly. So in 1926, Dr. Bauer set the framework for a system that is still in use today. In 1928, Dr. Bauer founded the Aerial Medical Association. This was a precursor to the Aerospace Medical Association, or ASMA, as it is known today. We'll discuss asthma in more detail later in this lecture. In 1953, thanks to Dr. Bauer, aviation medicine, and now known as aerospace medicine, became a board certification through the American Board of Preventive Medicine. This is not an exhaustive list of his many accomplishments, but touches on the highlights, especially as they pertain to a budding aerospace medicine physician. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Armstrong. Dr. Armstrong took aviation medicine and ran with it into the realm of space. He wrote the first textbook on aerospace medicine. You may be thinking, wait, I thought you said Dr. Bauer did that on the last slide. Dr. Bauer wrote the first aviation medicine textbook. Dr. Armstrong wrote the first aerospace medicine textbook. He also developed the physiologic specifications used to design the 1937 Lockheed X-35 aircraft. He realized the importance of the interface between human physiology and machines. Armstrong's line is also named after him. This is the altitude at which the ambient pressure is so low that the boiling point for water is equal to body temperature. So essentially, all the fluids in the body will boil at this altitude, which is 63,000 feet. Dr. Armstrong was the first Surgeon General for the Air Force, and he also developed the Department of Space Medicine at the Air Force. So now that you know a little bit more about what aerospace medicine is, I'd like to talk about some other terminology you may hear. First off, what is a flight surgeon? A, an astronaut who performs surgery in space. B, an astronaut who is trained as a physician. C, a physician who applies aerospace medicine knowledge in an operational setting to provide longitudinal and acute care for patients who fly for a living. D, a general surgeon who is pilot in command of military fighter jets. Or E, the crew medical officer, or CMO, for spaceflight crews. The correct answer is C. Just as professional sports teams have a team doctor, a flight surgeon is the quote-unquote team doctor for pilots, astronauts, and other aircrew, and applies their aerospace medicine knowledge in an operational setting. It is a specific job designation used by military and other organizations such as NASA. A flight surgeon's goal is to optimize and maintain the health of flyers so that they can continue to perform their in-flight roles without sudden incapacitation or interference with execution of duties. The term flight surgeon is misleading, much like Surgeon General of the United States. Neither are usually surgeons trained for the operating room, and a flight surgeon does not by default fly in space, although in the military they do maintain aircraft flight hours. Surgeon, in this case, is a military term denoting a medical officer. It dates back to early war days when a surgeon was in fact the only physician on the battlefield. Later, with the introduction of airplanes during World War I, there was a very high aviation mishap rate. The Army thus incorporated the help of physicians to better understand the flight environment and improve the outcomes of flyers. This is when the job designator of flight surgeon was created to denote a physician who cares specifically for flyers. Of note, you may hear people say that a flight surgeon is specialized in or practices flight surgery. This is an incorrect term. Flight surgeons practice aerospace medicine. Answer A is incorrect because we do not currently have the means to safely and effectively perform surgery in space. Answer B is incorrect because not all astronauts who previously trained as physicians have completed residency, let alone residency in aerospace medicine. Answer D is incorrect. There are in fact military service members with the dual designation of physician and aviator, but this does not by default define a flight surgeon. And answer E is incorrect. Spaceflight CMOs are not required to be physicians or to have any prior medical background. They receive approximately 25 hours of spaceflight-specific medical training. Next question, true or false? Space medicine is a distinct discipline separate from aerospace medicine. The correct answer is false. Although this has been proposed, ABMS has affirmed that space medicine is part of aerospace medicine. You still have to go through the air to get to and from space. These cannot be fully separated. In other words, aviation and space are on the same continuum, so you need knowledge of both. For launch and landing to or from any planetary body, especially one with an atmosphere, you're going to have to deal with the aero component. Why do pilots have accidents? Spatial disorientation plays a part, which can include gravitational and aerodynamic forces. So a good, competent aerospace medicine physician knows that these environments are always intermixing. This is also in part why the US Air Force and Space Force maintain this tie between each other. Space medicine and aerospace medicine are often used interchangeably, especially at NASA, but there is still an expectation that one receives formal aerospace medicine education and training in order to safely and properly practice space medicine. True or false, wilderness medicine knowledge or experience is sufficient to practice aerospace medicine? The correct answer is false. While wilderness medicine can certainly help inform medical decision-making in the resource-limited environment of aerospace, and while overlap exists between these fields, they are not equivalent or fully interchangeable. Aerospace medicine provides specific ACGME-accredited education in aeromedical standards, human factors, acceleration and gravitational effects on the human, microgravity physiology, systems engineering, occupant protection, hyperbaric environments, just to name a few. So why do we need aerospace medicine? Aerospace medicine patients are working with and operating highly specialized equipment in extreme environments, as we discussed previously. The knowledge necessary to care for them requires similar specialization on the part of the supporting physician and medical teams. As more people take to the air, there is a need for more pilots, both military and civilian. NASA is continuing low Earth orbit operations as well as expanding to exploration class missions such as the Moon and Mars. And we are entering a fascinating time in our field with the commercialization of spaceflight and experiencing a shift from traditionally sending only healthy individuals into extreme environments to now also sending pathology into extreme environments. When someone pays hundreds of thousands of dollars for their ticket to space, they aren't going to be screened out for every health problem. That's bad for business. So questions we never dreamed of previously, like what happens to an insulin pump or a pacemaker on launch and landing or in space? These are questions that are becoming feasible to investigate. It's truly an exciting time for our field. This is a great time to be sitting where you are as a medical student or resident contemplating aerospace medicine as a career. The photo on the left is Felix Baumgartner in his historic Red Bull jump, July 25, 2012, from 29,455 meters, or 96,637 feet. My prior training is in emergency medicine. Had Mr. Baumgartner asked me to be his physician for this endeavor, I would have respectfully declined, because I had not received the training necessary to keep him alive in this aerospace environment. It was simply outside the scope of my practice. Only by becoming a formally trained aerospace medicine physician could I adequately prepare for a task like taking care of Mr. Baumgartner. However, a number of our UTMB aerospace medicine residents and faculty have been involved in supporting this and other similar endeavors. The photo on the right is the U.S. Air Force tanker refueling operations. It illustrates the similarly highly specialized nature of this work. These aviators need a specialized physician who understands the occupational needs and physiologic exposures that could be risk factors for them. Okay, so you're hooked. You want to take care of highly specialized patients in extreme environments as an aerospace medicine physician. But how? It really is no different than any other medical specialty. Learn what you're planning to get yourself into through as much exposure as possible, and if you love it, then go for it. The first step to a career in aerospace medicine is learning more about what the field involves. Participating in the seminar series is a great first step. With that, let's talk about the specifics of medical training. This slide shows the standard pathway to pursuing aerospace medicine. The military version of this pathway may vary somewhat, but for now, let's focus on the civilian route. There is an expectation that you complete a residency in another medical specialty first. This is because aerospace medicine residency is relatively short at 2 years, so you need to develop and already come in with a very solid understanding of terrestrial medicine beforehand. Aerospace medicine then takes that terrestrial knowledge and applies it in completely different environmental contexts. This is why the most important aspect of becoming an aerospace medicine physician is to first and foremost be the best terrestrial clinician that you can be. Wait, what is the best primary residency to choose if I am interested in aerospace medicine? We get this question all the time. Contrary to what you may hear, there is no one best residency to set you up for aerospace medicine. This is because aerospace medicine draws from many other terrestrial specialties. We recommend choosing the specialty that you enjoy the most. If you do what you love, you'll love what you do. This makes you better at your practice, and this competency is ultimately what matters when you apply it to aerospace medicine. Alternatively, think about what specialty you would choose if aerospace medicine did not exist. This can help elicit your true underlying interests. Different aerospace medicine training programs have different entry-level requirements for the primary specialties they will accept. We encourage you to reach out directly to the programs of interest to you to confirm your chosen primary specialty meets entry requirements. It's also important to note that while not all primary specialties may lead to full-time involvement in aerospace medicine, your chosen primary specialty might still be useful in a consultant role that helps inform full-time aerospace medicine specialists in their medical decision-making. When deciding on U.S. aerospace medicine training programs, there are 5 to consider. The University of Texas Medical Branch has a residency program, and the Mayo Clinic has a fellowship. There are also military options through the Navy, Army, and Air Force. I'm going to provide you with a brief overview of the programs and their similarities and differences. I would like to note up front that I am a civilian and therefore not as familiar with the military options as the civilian options. For detailed information about the military programs, you may contact us at the email listed at the end of the presentation, and we're happy to connect you with our military colleagues. You'll also note the acronym ACGME here. This is the Accreditation Council for Graduate Medical Education, and we'll explain why ACGME accreditation is important a little bit later. First, let's look at the civilian programs. The University of Texas Medical Branch has a residency, and there are 3 options for pursuing this training. The first 2 options are combined programs. These are the only programs of their kind in the United States. They are each 4 years and combine the specialties of either internal medicine and aerospace medicine or emergency medicine and aerospace medicine. Usually, internal medicine is a 3-year residency by itself, and aerospace medicine is a 2-year residency by itself. But in the combined program, sufficient overlap in required competencies allows for a 4-year combined program. Similarly, emergency medicine by itself is usually a 3 to 4-year residency, but sufficient overlap in required competencies allows for a 4-year combined program. You would match into one of these combined programs directly from medical school as you would match into any other residency. The third option at UTMB is the categorical program. This is still technically a residency, but akin to a fellowship because it's additional training after a prior residency and board certification. This is what I did. I completed a 3-year emergency medicine residency elsewhere, and I am board certified in EM, and then applied to the categorical UTMB program. In the categorical program, you are hired like a job, so it's not part of the match. The categorical program is 2 years in length. UTMB's program is based in Galveston, Texas, with most rotations at the NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. There are also rotations with the Federal Aviation Administration in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, the United States Air Force in Dayton, Ohio, Polar Medical Operations in Antarctica, and opportunities with commercial space companies. The Mayo Clinic offers an aerospace medicine fellowship. It is 2 years in length and requires prior residency and board certification, similar to the categorical program at UTMB. You are hired like a job, so it's not part of the match. Sites for their training include the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, Arizona, and the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida. They also provide rotations at the University of North Dakota School of Aerospace Sciences, the Federal Aviation Administration, and NASA. The Master of Public Health courses are provided through the University of Minnesota. Both UTMB and Mayo Clinic programs also require that you complete a master's degree with public health components during the training. These are some of our aerospace medicine residents with our division director, Dr. Ronak Shah, at the Wings Over Houston Air Show at Ellington Field in Houston, Texas, where we provide annual medical support for the air show. In terms of military programs, the U.S. Air Force Residency in Aerospace Medicine is located at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. It requires prior completion of intern, also known as PGY 1 year, and 18 or more months as a flight surgeon, but completion of a prior residency and board certification is highly desired. Curriculum includes MPH work and 2 years of practicum experience. The Army program is a 3-year aerospace medicine and occupational medicine combined residency located at Fort Novosel, Alabama. It requires prior completion of intern year, but completion of a prior residency and board certification is highly desired. Curriculum includes MPH coursework and 3 years of practicum experience due to the combined specialty training offered. The Navy residency in aerospace medicine is located in Pensacola, Florida. It requires completion of intern year. Curriculum includes MPH coursework and 2 years of practicum experience. This is a photo of one of our residents at the South Pole during her Antarctic rotation with UTMB Polar Medical Operations. I have already alluded to this, but all programs, whether civilian or military, have common requirements that are dictated by the American Board of Preventive Medicine for board certification. They are a medical degree, an unrestricted medical license, a Master of Public Health or equivalent master or doctoral postgraduate degree inclusive of epidemiology, biostatistics, health services administration, environmental health sciences, and social and behavioral sciences. The master's degree is of particular importance in aerospace medicine since much of what we do is preventive medicine. It is a vital component of the training. It's also important to note that all 5 programs require either U.S. citizenship or green card status due to international traffic in arms regulations or ITAR constraints associated with U.S. technology in the aerospace industry. This is a photo of three of our residents last year, just prior to entering an altitude chamber for hypoxia and altitude familiarization. We spoke earlier about aerospace medicine being a unique type of occupational medicine. The best way to understand what your patients experience is to experience it yourself, hence the physiologic training in an altitude chamber. So why is ACGME accreditation important for residencies and fellowships? We mentioned earlier that we would discuss why this is. The reason is that it ensures your training program is adhering to externally validated national education standards. This ensures consistency of education across different programs that are training the same specialty. It also provides protections to you as the learner in the way of duty hour restrictions, formal standardized evaluations, resident wellness requirements, etc. ACGME accreditation also renders residency graduates of that program eligible to take the board certification exam for a given specialty. When you are a medical student looking at residency programs or a resident looking at fellowships, it's easy to assume that all available programs accepting applicants are accredited. Otherwise, why would they be allowed to train learners? Never assume. Ask. And if the answer is no, we are not ACGME accredited, understand why, especially if this deviates from known existing norms within the specialty. As a medical student or resident, it's also important to understand why board certification is important. Board certification in aerospace medicine is the educational gold standard. That is, it is the highest medical credential available, just as in any other medical specialty. Board certification is the gold standard in part because it comes with requirements for continuing medical education and currency after residency training. In other words, it helps ensure that you stay up to date on the standard of practice for your specialty. Board certification also protects your educational investment by maximizing your hiring potential, allowing graduates to practice anywhere in the aerospace industry. Without board certification in aerospace medicine, you will not be the most qualified job applicant. Board certification is also the right thing to do for patient care. Remember that in a court of law for malpractice suits, your actions will be compared to what a formally trained aerospace medicine specialist would have done in the same situation. For those learners who are wondering, wait, what if I'm an international provider? First of all, we see you and we know of the growing interest in aerospace medicine across the world. While U.S. opportunities are subject to ITAR and thus citizenship status, we encourage you to work with colleagues in your country to explore existing aerospace medicine opportunities or the development of an accredited and sustainable aerospace medicine training program abroad. This, of course, will depend on your country's current and future aerospace goals, but UTMB is open to collaboration and can help provide framework and consulting if this is of interest. Please contact us at the email address below. For anyone contemplating pursuing a career in aerospace medicine, there are some useful resources that you should be aware of. First and foremost, the Aerospace Medical Association, also known as ASMA. ASMA is a hub of knowledge and an excellent forum to get involved and get to know people in this small field. Annual student memberships are $50. In May each year, ASMA has their annual conference. If you are truly interested in aerospace medicine, go. It's an incredible opportunity to meet the leading experts in the field and learn about the research opportunities available. ASMA's website is listed on this slide for your reference. ASMA is the parent organization for anyone in the field of aerospace medicine, but there is an organization that is specifically designed for students, residents, and fellows. This is called the Aerospace Medicine Student and Resident Organization, or AMSRO. You must be a member of ASMA to join AMSRO, but the membership fee is only $10. Skip 2 trips to Starbucks and you've already paid for your membership. Additionally, we've listed the website for the UTMB Aerospace Medicine Residency, the Aerospace Medicine Medical School Concentration, only available to UTMB medical students, Our Principles of Aviation and Space Medicine 1 month elective course, offered annually each July to final year medical students and above, and open to international learners, and the NASA Johnson Space Center Aerospace Medicine 1 month clerkship elective, offered annually each April and October for final year medical students and above. This is a photo of two of our residents gaining experience in an aircraft simulator. So, knowing what we have learned so far, who is practicing aerospace medicine and where? This is a quote from ASMA explaining where aerospace medicine activities take place that highlights the field well. This slide gives you a breakdown of where UTMB graduates have gone to work. In terms of job opportunities, I'll highlight some of the major employers. Let's start with NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. 57 of the 65 graduates from the UTMB Aerospace Medicine Residency have gone on to work for NASA. This includes either working directly for NASA as a civil servant or government employee, or working as a contractor with NASA. NASA has opportunities domestically at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, and abroad. A number of astronauts still travel to space on Russian Soyuz rockets. These astronauts undergo training with the Russian cosmonauts and launch and land from Kazakhstan. These training activities are monitored by NASA physicians in Russia and Kazakhstan. The photo on the left is the Neutral Buoyancy Lab at the NASA Johnson Space Center. This is essentially a very large swimming pool with full-scale models of components of the International Space Station in the water. The astronauts train for extravehicular activities, also known as EVAs, and colloquially known as spacewalks, in this pool. It doesn't provide true microgravity because you cannot escape the bounds of gravity while on Earth, but it does provide neutral buoyancy as the name suggests. There are also some photos from Russian Soyuz training. The top middle photo is the Hydrolab training facility in Star City, Russia. This is their version of the Neutral Buoyancy Lab. It is smaller, but interestingly, they can elevate their floor to drain the water and replace the components in the pool. The top right photo is of a NASA physician supporting crew training in the Russian Orlan suit. This is the EVA suit that the Russian cosmonauts use. The bottom photo is from Star City Medical Training Facilities. These photos of UTMB Aerospace Medicine Residency graduates demonstrate additional opportunities available to those who become NASA flight surgeons. Shown on the left is flight surgeon support of a parabolic zero-G flight, and shown on the right is flight surgeon exposure and familiarization to a T-38 high-performance jet flight. These photos of our alumni show further examples available to aerospace medicine physicians supporting Russian Soyuz training operations. On the left is the Soyuz spacecraft simulator. On the right is medical support of a pressurized fit check for a NASA astronaut in the Russian Sokol suit. The Federal Aviation Administration is another large employer of aerospace medicine physicians. In particular, the Civil Aerospace Medicine Institute, located in Oklahoma City, trains physicians across the nation and internationally to be designated aviation medical examiners. These physicians work as designees of the FAA to medically certify pilots to fly. These medical certifications are also reviewed by the FAA. So the next time you fly commercially, spot a recreational aircraft in the skies, or eat food that was sprayed by a crop duster aircraft, consider that a physician medically certified all of those pilots to fly. CAMI also provides physiologic training for physicians and pilots. The photo on the left is a water survival simulation, and the photo on the right is a hypoxic exposure in a reduced oxygen environment. But what if you don't want to live in Houston, Oklahoma City, or travel overseas? As mentioned previously, aviation medical examiners are located all over the United States and even in other countries, so you could work closer to your desired geographic location as an AME. The link provided on this slide allows you to look up AMEs geographically. And now there are new opportunities with the commercialization of spaceflight, such as Axiom Space, Virgin Galactic, Sierra Space, SpaceX, and other new entities. UTMB graduates have been employed by the majority of the companies shown here. Additionally, our faculty at UTMB maintain close and regular contact with our commercial colleagues to ensure that our curriculum supplies our graduates with up-to-date knowledge required for working safely and successfully in the evolving commercial spaceflight industry. This is a photo of UTMB graduates, one of whom is a current flight surgeon at Virgin Galactic, during a tour of Spaceport America in New Mexico. This is a photo of myself and another prior UTMB graduate providing flight surgeon support for the launch of the first Axiom Space mission to ISS. The military also offers unique experiences all over the world for aerospace medicine physicians. These photos are from the training offered to our residents at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. None of those locations look appealing to you? What about space? You heard me correctly, space. Approximately 10% of the graduates from the UTMB Aerospace Medicine Residency have gone on to be selected as NASA astronauts. This is a photo of Dr. Serena Onion Chancellor on the International Space Station. She is a graduate of the UTMB Combined Internal Medicine and Aerospace Medicine Residency and is our current program director for the UTMB Aerospace Medicine Residency as a whole. While a handful of graduates have gone on to be selected as NASA astronauts, it's also important to note that aerospace medicine is not a shortcut or a backdoor for physicians to become astronauts. We also still very much need competent and appropriately trained physicians who are passionate about aerospace medicine as a specialty, supporting crews in the role of ground-based physicians as the aerospace industry continues to grow. This final quote from ASMA highlights who is involved in aerospace medicine and underlines that the field is multidisciplinary. As an aerospace medicine physician, you will have the opportunity to work with a range of specialists from bench scientists to maintenance experts. It is truly a challenging and rewarding field. So now it's time for a knowledge check to see what we've learned. Question 1. Physicians interested in pursuing training in aerospace medicine can follow which path? The correct answer is E. Any of the above are acceptable. The key here is ACGME accreditation. Programs unaccredited by ACGME will not render you board eligible in aerospace medicine. Question 2. Physicians with a board certification in aerospace medicine are qualified to work with which patient population? The correct answer is D, all of the above. Question 3. Physicians with a board certification in aerospace medicine can be employed by which organization? The correct answer is F, all of the above. This concludes the first presentation of this series. References are listed here. We'd also like to give special thanks to Dr. Amy Krakis, UTMB RAM graduate, class of 2020, who created the original version of the UTMB Aerospace Medicine Seminar Series. And special thanks to Ms. Heather Medley for her tireless work in reformatting and updating the seminar series as part of the 2024 revisions. Thank you for watching this presentation. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at the email listed here. The next topic covered will be aerospace environments, and we look forward to seeing you then.